Madam Chair, we are now live.
Good evening and welcome to the Town of Ajax Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting for Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. This meeting is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet. All staff and committee members are participating by phone or video. All regular practices and procedures of the committee continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they're resolved. Thank you for your patience, and we will now proceed with the meeting. Before moving into the discussion items on the agenda, I'd like to take a moment to welcome Councillor Lisa Bauer to the committee, who will be joining us for the remainder of the term. Perhaps I could ask members to briefly introduce themselves as I call out your name. I will begin by introducing myself. My name is Roseanne Pernoisi. I do work in the disability sector in the Durham region in project management, assisting families with finding resources and supports for their loved one with a disability. And I've been on the committee, I believe it's 2 years now. I might be shortchanging myself, and I'm really glad to be here and have met some wonderful people in the process. Thank you. I'll go on to Heather Steeves.
Welcome, Councillor Bauer. I'm Heather Steeves, and I have been a member, I think, for about 7 years now, not sure, give or take. And I'm doing university courses for a degree in my chosen field. I love to volunteer. Anyone that knows me knows they've seen me around volunteering. I just want to say welcome and nice to see you for the next 2 years.
Thank you.
And Ray.
Hi, Lisa. Well, as I said, we've already met at the library at the accessibility fair. I've been on and off the committee. I've been on now with the committee for 2 years, but I've been on this wonderful committee before as well. I am visually impaired, I'm legally blind. I've done a lot of work throughout my career. I've always worked in the disabled community and as a volunteer as well. Very, very progressive. And also I do have the pleasure of sitting on the age-friendly committee for the town of Ajax, and you'll hear more about the committee later on. So welcome aboard.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you, Heather. I didn't say thank you to you. And we'll move on to Kaylee.
Hi, welcome, Councillor Bauer. My name is Kaylee Danks. This is my 2nd year, I believe, on the committee, and I was heavily involved in volunteer work and just got back into it. I have 2 small children, so it's been pretty busy, and I'm doing virtual school with my SK.
Wow.
I'm really happy to be on the committee.
Hello, Kaylee.
Thank you, Kaylee. And we'll move on to Seppaline.
Hi, my name is Sabine Dionrain. I've been on the committee for about 4 terms now, and I really like the accessibility committee. This is one of my sort of dear and heart, close to my heart. Other things, I have been very involved in the community as a volunteer and volunteering around the city as much as I can. And right now, I am really busy with COVID.
I've met you several times, Seppaline, and I've seen you at many functions around the town. Hello.
Great. Thank you, Seppaline. And I believe Barb we have.
Yes, she's here. Sorry I'm late. It's been a long day, a lot of meetings. We're having a lot of meetings on the provincial level on having immunizations for the viruses that are coming out right now. And everybody's trying to find the best way of doing them. And it's very, yeah, it's very difficult to decide on who needs a shot in their arm to help them through this virus problem and who doesn't need it on that level. There's a lot of things going on right now with the province that we were having a lot of meetings today. So it's nice to see sort of things are calming down tonight for a little while. Other than that, everybody is trying to make sure we get through this COVID virus, and people are getting shots as needed or not needed. Some don't need them. So it's very in depth at the moment.
For that information.
Hard to do in 10 words or less. I'm sorry.
Well, I would like to hear more about you. I think Councillor Bauer would
Oh,
like to
sorry.
a little bit more about you.
Back up. Okay. Start over. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, we were introducing ourselves to Councillor Bauer. This is her first meeting with us.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you come in the middle of a meeting. Yeah. I'm Barb Dowds. I'm member of the Accessibility Committee for the town of Ajax. I have been on a number of committees. Right now, I'm working on a committee for the March of Dimes Canada for the viruses that are around and trying to help people through that. And it's kind of fun. It's interesting, and I enjoy being with that committee. But I miss you guys. Where have you been for all these months that we haven't been meeting? So hopefully we'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. And Sarah, do we need to introduce you?
Sure you do.
I don't think so, but yes, I'm Sarah.
Wonderful. We'll take an introduction.
I'm the accessibility coordinator with the town.
Oh, there's so much more to you.
Yes, there is.
Wonderful. And Councillor Bauer, we would like to hear a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Roseanne. Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's great to meet all of you via Zoom. I have met or seen several of you at live events before the pandemic happened. I remember the accessibility fair at the library, the introduction of the mats down at the beach in order to be able to get down without getting stuck in the sand. So just a couple of things. I've been on the Heritage Advisory Committee for the last 2 years since my term at council began. And this is the first time that councillors are swapping midway through the term. So Councillor Khan has moved over to Heritage and I've moved over here. I think the work that you guys have done that I have seen and have been presented at council is absolutely fantastic. I'm very eager and excited to join this team. And please feel free to call me Lisa. I'm really excited to be part of the group. So thank you very much for welcoming me. And I really enjoyed those introductions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being here with us. And at this time, we'll proceed with our meeting. Are there any conflicts of interest from committee members with any of the items to be discussed this evening?
No.
Wonderful. Seeing none, thank you. And if we can look for the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting dated December 16th, 2020, can we have a motion to adopt the minutes?
I motion.
Heather motions and seconded by Ray.
Yep.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Favor.
Thank you. That's carried. Item number four, the presentations and discussion items. Moving on to the presentation and discussion items, there's only one discussion item on the agenda this evening, so I will turn it over to Sarah to lead us through the 2021 work plan discussion. Sarah. Oh my. Oh, you're on mute.
That would help. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just saying that I'm going to hop off video while I go through the slides just to help clear up some of the screen, and then I'll hop back on when we open up to our discussion. Very informal this evening. It's the top of the year. It's a different year, quite similar to last year, but a different year for the work that the committee does. So a lot of different considerations for us to take a look at in terms of what we want to try to tackle as a group. I'll go over some of the priorities that we have on deck that are already prescribed for us, as well as some of the carryover goals that we've identified as a group that we maybe didn't get a chance to go through last year. And I really want to hear from this group this evening in terms of what ideas or initiatives or what you want to set as our goals and priorities above what we're required to do for the remainder of 2021. So I'll hop off the video here and pull up my other slides. Here we go. When too many tabs are open, that's where I'm at right now. Okay, so we're going to go over our 2021 work plan review. Again, nothing is set in stone. This is just sort of a carryover framework from what the committee established as of where we left off last year. So everything is flexible in terms of what we want to talk about this evening and really want to gather the group's input and direction. So before we start though, just to get us in the mindset of what we're looking at for 2021, we have a couple of roadblocks and barriers to consider. We're still dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, which does impact the work that the committee does in a lot of different ways. Indefinitely, we are looking to continue with our virtual meetings via Zoom into the future for probably the majority of the rest of this year. We're not entertaining in-person gatherings at this time in terms of like a public events capacity, where I know in the past the committee was quite heavily involved with some of the town's community events. Those are not being scheduled at this time. And we also want to be mindful of when we are considering any type of engagement or activities with the community of the amount of time that people are spending on screens lately, be it for meetings, be it for online schooling. So just something that we may want to consider could impact the outreach that we have with the community if we're looking at doing something that's strictly screen-based. Are there different ways that we might be able to create some type of outreach and engagement? Some of the priorities that are already required for the committee to tackle are prescribed through the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act legislation, and they include our annual status update for the accessibility plan. The target for that, it will be probably reporting back through the committee in May, June of this year in terms of what the report is for the year prior. We also have a responsibility as an organization to file our provincial accessibility compliance report, and that's due by December 31st of this year. So that will again be coming through the committee prior to that reporting deadline. I'd like to see a continuation of the committee's involvement with our site plan review. There are quite a number of site plan applications that are still being submitted to the town for developments. And I think it's a very important role that this committee plays, specifically in regards to the types of site plans that they've identified of interest, being like schools, community-based facilities, long-term care facilities, things of that nature. So really pairing through the applications that are coming through and revamping our site plan review subcommittee, albeit virtually, which also brings along some additional challenges, but I'd really like to see the engagement from this group again. As well, we have our annual report that's tentatively scheduled for the November meeting later this year. And then possibly if we have time on our work plan this year, as 2022 will be an election year, taking a look at the election accessibility plan. So within the work plan document that was included in your agenda package, a lot of the core priorities that I've just outlined are embedded already within this document, but we have a lot of carryover initiatives as well from last year. And I was just going to briefly go through each item to sort of walk through what's currently on our draft and then open it up to discussion with members to see should things stay, should timelines shift, are there new things that should be added, and really rework this document to something that we can all really get behind and champion for 2021. So as I mentioned previously, we have a report to council, and that's scheduled for November 22nd of this year. That's one of our annual activities the committee does to provide some opportunity to liaise with council in terms of what the committee's accomplishments have been for the past year. And it's a great opportunity for our chair and vice chair to have that public speaking role as well. The Regional AAC Joint Forum, so that is facilitated by the Region of Durham Accessibility Advisory Committee, and unfortunately last year due to COVID wasn't able to be facilitated, but perhaps I have heard that they might be looking at an alternative type of event, or maybe we'll be in a different environment later in the fall when this event is normally held, where we will be able to collaborate and connect somehow with our counterparts across the region. Number 3, National Accessibility Week. So this year, the week falls from May 30th to June 5th, 2021, always starting on the last Sunday in May. And it's an opportunity for this group to put together some type of an awareness programming, communication, activity, so that could engage the community, could engage staff, could engage the businesses within our community as well. So definitely looking for feedback from this group on what they might be interested in tackling. Last year, we did have to pivot our initiatives dramatically in terms of a full week of programming. We shifted online and we focused more on a social media campaign. But now that we kind of have that under our belts, is there something that the committee would like to explore in addition or as an alternative to that? I mentioned our multi-year accessibility plan. So we'll be going through all of the feedback that we'll be soliciting from all of our departments across the organization to put together a status update that will come as a report to this committee, again, probably towards April, May, and then the final approval will be sought from council before the recess this summer. The committee also participates, number 5 is our initiative, the Region of Durham Accessibility Award nominations. So that's an annual opportunity for members of this committee to recognize individuals or groups within the Ajax community that have gone above and beyond to demonstrate accessibility ambassadorship or leadership or break down some type of barrier within Ajax. So we always have fun and a fruitful discussion in terms of who might be nominated for that opportunity. Our 6th initiative on our work plan is working with Durham Transit, Durham Regional Transit, specifically the specialized services. We've also recently had conversations with Metrolinx in regards to the bus rapid transit project that's coming through from Durham into Scarborough. So we'll continue those conversations regarding transportation throughout the year. Initiative number 7, town event participation. So this one comes with a little asterisk this year, as I mentioned. Tentative, right now at the current state, we're not hosting those large community events, but tentatively that could change later in the year. And we could look to whenever it's safe to do so and those events recommence to continue our participation. Number 8, the initiative is the accessibility news feed on ajax.ca. So we do have our committee microsite on the town's website and the opportunity to be engaging with our members of our community by posting articles of interest that are written by the group. And there are a variety of different topics that I know we've discussed in the past. So possibly something, especially now that people are more inclined to look for information online, to engage more with the community through this avenue. Number 9 speaks to the committee's role in the site plan approval process. So reviewing those site plan drawings, providing comments regarding accessibility and barrier identification and compliance with the design of public spaces standards. And we do currently have a subcommittee established for that, but we haven't really met in quite some time due to COVID. So again, looking for if there's renewed interest from those members, new members want to come on board, and really getting those site plan subcommittee meetings back up and running. Number 10, last year we talked a lot about social media messaging. It's a little bit of a difficult balance as of late, just because a lot of the corporate communications are focused on the COVID-19 messaging that go out, but there's always an opportunity, especially if something aligns with some of the dates of significance or the initiatives that the group is interested in, that we could look to promote via social media and use the town's channels. Initiative number 11 is accessibility informational resource development. So in the past, the committee got together and created our Respect the Space brochure with anticipation that in the future, we'd be able to continue with different phases, maybe targeting our business community, the school community. And again, all of that was also impacted by COVID. So looking at whether or not is there a new type of communication material or resource. But really where this falls in line in terms of what the committee has on the horizon is the collaboration with the Age-Friendly Ajax Steering Committee. As you recall, we were approached when Laura presented previously last year to collaborate with their group on the creation of an age-friendly and accessible business guide. So that would be one priority that we could look to add. Initiative number 12, our blind square technology. So we do have our beacon navigation system installed within our town hall campus as a pilot. Unfortunately, last year it didn't get much uptake. We haven't done an official launch. And again, not to overuse COVID, but we had facility closures, which prevented people being able to access that particular service. And now we will have to look at reworking our messaging to adapt to how the navigation throughout the facility is impacted with different health protocols. So having Blind Square come back in, pardon me, having CNIB come back in and take a look at how we've reoriented the space and how that messaging needs to be updated in terms of our maintenance, and so that it's correct for public use. And then look to some type of launch when we can open up our doors to our facility more publicly. Initiative 13, accessibility legislation. So this ties in with our requirements and compliance with the AODA, and that relates to our multi-year accessibility plan, as well as our provincial compliance reporting, and any other new or amendments to the legislation that come up throughout the year. 14, education and awareness. So the committee has always identified an interest in education from an internal committee perspective, but they also have a focus on community education and awareness as well. So whether or not there are any ideas from the group to bring in guest speakers or types of online education opportunities that you've seen that might be of interest to members or for the committee to look at. Initiative 15, accessibility for business initiatives. So again, dovetailing with that communications piece, taking a look at what the committee's role could be with the Age-Friendly Ajax Steering Committee to help work together and create that accessible age-friendly business guide. 16, seniors recreation strategy and age-friendly community strategy. We are fortunate to have Ray, who sits as a liaison on the Age-Friendly Ajax Steering Committee and reports back regularly to this, to the committee as a whole at our monthly meetings. So we've put that there. And I am remiss in saying that we should also add that Roseanne sits on the Regional Accessibility Advisory Committee. So we can certainly add that because it's important to document her leadership between both of those committees. So in a nutshell, that's where we've really left off from last year and a starting point for this year. But we do have other ongoing involvement throughout the year that's not necessarily documented as a formal work plan item. We do receive our annual updates from Andrew Jackson regarding the parks and trails projects that the town is undertaking. We have our annual visit from Durham Transit, as well as participate in the external Metrolinx public consultation opportunities that come up. And again, talked a little bit about the Age-Friendly Steering Committee and the Durham AAC. We always keep our eyes and ears open for Enabling Accessibility Fund grant opportunities. And we do participate in town events wherever possible, and even if virtual. I know we've had some participants in some of the programming recently from this group that the town has put on virtually, which is great. So what do our 2021 goals look like? Really looking for feedback from the committee here. We typically look to recognize National Accessibility Week. What does recognition look like in this type of an environment? Is there an appetite for continuing the news articles on a more regularly scheduled basis for the website? Are there community partnerships that we should be looking to build? Last year, we were fortunate to collaborate with the Brain Injury Association of Durham Region for our unmasking exhibit. So is there another opportunity out there that we might not be aware of, or really there is interest in pursuing? I know in the past, the group has been very interested in connecting with the business community in Ajax, and we had Mr. Terry visit at the committee at the beginning of the fall to talk about the openness of collaboration there as well. So if there are ideas that the committee has to share, would love to hear them. And then taking a look at where we can get more involved as a committee, not necessarily waiting until the next monthly meeting, but in between, if we could have some work and some projects to sort of dive into in smaller groups, or even if they are bigger groups, but in a subcommittee setting, and then be able to report back to the committee at what work has been undertaken before we can all move on collectively. So I've spoken already about reviving our site plan review committee, which does meet monthly, but is there interest in maybe a communications committee that takes a look at the news articles, any social media messaging, maybe working in a small group when the time's right to do the Brain Injury Association unmasking video of the exhibit we have in Town Hall? Or whether or not it's worth having a separate subcommittee for events recognition, such as National Accessibility Week. But I really throw these ideas out there just to see what sticks and what the group is interested in. It's really up to you. And that's all I have in a nutshell, but I'll leave it back here on our work plan screens. And then I will turn it back over to the chair to see if there's any discussion.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, so we'll open up the floor to discussion on the items that Sarah presented from our work plan, our proposed work plan. Ray?
Yeah, I don't know where to start. You've been through so many. I'm going to start with this, definitely suggesting getting in more involved and with the Ajax age-friendly committee. Can't even say it right. Yes, I do. I'm very proud to belong to a member of the committee, and you know, we will be looking for and still include looking to accessibility at every step of the way. The resource guide is going to be absolutely helpful to not only just seniors, to everyone. And there's some resources out there I didn't even know about. So it is a great opportunity for our committee to get involved. I will be, well, this is further on in the agenda, but we will be looking for an audit committee to oversee what the Ajax Friendly Committee is doing. And we are looking for someone from the Ajax Committee, the Ajax Accessibility Committee, to be a part of that review and audit. But also, I just want to add, 2025 is going to come pretty soon. And I know we all have COVID, we all have a lot on our minds, but let's not forget, I know this can be political, but let's not forget about accessibility and the year 2025, because that's going to come up pretty soon. And we don't want accessibility to be forgotten. That's what I think maybe one of our messages is, you know, in Accessibility Week is, you know, don't forget 2025. It's going to come pretty fast. And we've come a long way.
Thank you, Ray. Yes, actually, as you mentioned that, I was thinking about that, and a lot of the older businesses in Ajax that, you know, it might be costly in order for them to become accessible. You know, how do we, maybe for National Accessibility Week, we even not spotlight the challenges that some businesses are having, but on the like for that particular business, but even spotlighting how businesses could work toward getting more accessible. That's something that came to mind as you mentioned about the AODA stipulations for 2025. Yeah. Any other thoughts on?
I just want to add one more. Sorry. Sarah, you mentioned DRT and Metrolinx. I've been honored to sit on the committee, on a Metrolinx wayfinding committee through the CNIB. and that is coming very quickly to all regions, including Durham. So I will. Our next meeting is early next month. So this is kind of a subcommittee of the Metro Links. You know, people we do meet, but I'll report back on that as well. So it's going to be some interesting stuff coming up for wayfinding.
Thank you, Ray. Yes, it's wonderful to hear that there are so many things still moving as we're still locked in COVID. It's wonderful to hear. Any other comments, suggestions, thoughts on our proposed plan?
I do.
Councillor, yes.
Thanks. Just thinking of the conversation that just happened about the 2025 deadline for accessibility and how it's about sharing education or news pieces. I'm wondering if that's something that could be, I don't know what the news articles I think that this group has written and posted. Is that, have you already touched on those types of topics? That might be a good focus for some of the articles, maybe.
Could you speak up, please?
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. Is that any better?
That's better.
Okay, my microphone was muffled. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know what the articles that have been posted in previous years, but maybe that's some of the topic. We could focus on some of that as topic. You guys do a lot. This is a huge work plan.
Yep.
And thank you, Councillor. We do have a few more members, quite a few more members. So yes, and we're all very passionate about accessibility.
I think it's finding different ways to get involved with accessibility as well. Yes, we've got the Ajax Friendly Committee, we've got other committees, and you mentioned, Lisa, the Heritage Committee. Maybe we can do some, you know, do we do enough with the Heritage Committee? Do we do enough work with them? Are there other committees that we can get involved and making a difference with education as well? Definitely like the idea of the businesses. You know, I know they're more interested in opening, absolutely. But when they open, or even through COVID time, let's make sure things are accessible as well.
Great idea.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Ray. I've seen some places taking the opportunity to go through with renovating and doing some upgrades to their businesses, especially in the Pickering Village. And it's wonderful to see. And I remember last year we thought of, for National Accessibility Week, possibly, you know, a video messaging of some sort. We did the signs, but you know, that's something maybe we could tackle this year. Short videos.
Can I ask who is speaking, please?
Oh, it's Roseanne speaking.
Okay, hi.
Madam Chair, Sarah speaking. If I could just add to jump on Ray's point about the collaboration between heritage and accessibility. We had started some preliminary talks just amongst staff prior to the end of 2019, where the Heritage Advisory Committee held a workshop for other heritage committees within the Durham region. And it was very well attended at the Quaker Meeting House. And it got me thinking that there was a similar workshop style type of an event held several years prior that was about heritage and accessibility and how buildings were being adapted, but with accessibility considerations in mind. So kind of just tossed it out there if there would potentially be interest from the Heritage Committee in possibly co-hosting a type of event like that with the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Now, right now, if we were looking to plan something for later in the year, typically those types of workshops take place in the fall. We would probably have to look with it being virtual at this point, but that's an opportunity there where kind of both mandates would sort of dovetail nicely and allow you to cross-collaborate and get to know one another as a community more.
That's good thought.
Sounds great.
Is
Thank
it,
you. Yes.
do have a question. Sorry.
Go ahead, Ray.
I know we used to have many committees in Durham, in the town of Ajax. I know that's I know they're being reduced. I should say, not cut down. Are there any other committees that we can liaison with? You know, okay, the Heritage Committee, I think it's a fantastic idea. But are there other committees? I know the Diversity Committee, I know is not there, but even youth committees.
Through the chair, Sarah speaking. In terms of formal committees, at this time we have the Heritage Advisory Committee, the Accessibility Advisory Committee. I believe that there is still a Youth Engagement Advisory Committee that reports through the Recreation, Culture, Community Development Department, and they're all within sort of the umbrella of the town. Community committees, we have the Anti-Black Racism Task Force. I don't know if Councillor Bauer could speak a little bit more to that, as I'm not too involved with that particular committee, but there could be opportunities there as well. Other community organizations even. Really, the possibilities are endless.
Yes, Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. It's Lisa speaking. Yes, the Anti-Black Racism Task Force, the Ajax Anti-Black Racism Task Force is a new committee. Council is actually completely hands off of that. The creation came as a direction of council, but it is stipulated that we are not involved, except for the mayor, who is the liaison and attends meeting, but as not as a voting member. And the town's diversity and inclusion coordinator also acts as a liaison for that group. So I could certainly ask, maybe I could ask through the mayor, would there be an opportunity to maybe find out a little bit more what their terms of reference are, or if there's an opportunity somehow for our committee to collaborate with that committee. And the other thing I was thinking about when Ray mentioned, and actually was mentioned a few times, about connecting with the business community. I also sit on the Downtown BIA, the Business Improvement Area Committee. So that is, I think there's about, I want to say between 6 and 8 board members on that committee representing the downtown core. I don't know if you guys have talked about that maybe previously too. I'm wondering if there's some sort of connection that could be made there too, which I would be happy to find out about if that is something that everybody's interested in or thinks it might be useful. That's it for me. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Bauer. Definitely having that collaboration, having someone to speak to us would certainly be looking at ways that they can inform, and we can think about ways of collaborating once we've got that information. Wonderful. Sarah, you on your last slide, I believe, not the last, no, I don't think it's the last one. It's the one, yes, the subcommittees. Seeing as we are virtual 100% of the time now, I'm looking at this communications subcommittee as something that could be a subcommittee that could be established just so that people know about us too. And that we still exist and we're still doing and operating and moving and even attracting more advocates within our community. I would propose that having a communication subcommittee would be beneficial for us as a committee right now. Any thoughts on that? Oh, Ray, yes.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm yapping too much. Ray Smith speaking. I love that idea about the communications committee. As they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and we are working very hard. And BIA, I think it's a fantastic idea to. I know we have talked about the BIA as well, but to let people know what we're doing, and you hit the nail right on the head. Get advocates, because we do need advocacy. I know advocacy is not part of our mandate, but getting people to educate, and that's the way you're going to do it with communication.
Thank you, Ray.
Barb?
And Barb, yes.
I spent today with a large committee who was looking into the viruses that are going around and things that can be done to help with that. And one thing under the National Accessibility Week is to bring people up to date as to what the viruses are going around right now, what we can do about them, what people can be involved. Some people that have had a disease for years, and now that it's coming out a little bit more, they need more help to be able to handle it. And there's so many things for the Accessibility Week, if you go under that, all of it. Accessibility also means being able to get around and walk down the street. But I think at this point, we're having a lot of problems with accessibility in town, accessibility with anybody getting the virus. We're not seeming to get much information coming out of the province or even the national people as to what they're planning to do. How are they going to access us to be able to stop the virus from going on that is happening? And a lot of people are really worried about that. And I'm wondering if something along that line, is there something that we as a town can do to help stop some of the problems that are occurring with the people not understanding what's going on? And it just goes on and on. So is that something that you're interested in at all, or are you interested in the social communications and that type of things?
Oh, I think Sarah has something to speak to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can certainly empathize with the amount of uncertainty that a lot of people are feeling lately with the current environment and the virus that is still quite strong and prevalent within many communities, including our own. But I think it's very important to ensure that there's clear and consistent messaging from our healthcare professionals regarding anything that is COVID related. So we really have to be mindful that we don't want to be interpreting messaging and then communicating that messaging apart from an original source. So really the approach the town has taken is to amplify the messaging and communications that are coming out of our regional healthcare professionals. And I'm sure that they're receiving messaging coming from the province so that it is a consistent messaging. The correct information is coming through to the community so that people aren't being misinformed, or that there's not the potential for people to be misinformed. In terms of that type of communication content-wise, it does fall outside of the scope within this particular committee, but I can assure you that the town is dedicating quite a large amount of its communications messaging towards COVID-19 and to make sure that it is echoing the messaging content that is received from the provincial as well as the regional healthcare professionals.
Okay, thank you.
I see Kaylee has.
Yeah, Kaylee speaking. Just to go back to the news and social media, have we made like a resource sheet of maybe supports that people can access if they need some additional help, like with accessibility or food banks or other services that they can help them when people are stuck at home right now?
Can I jump in there, Kelly?
Yes.
You hit a nail, very Smith speaking, you hit a good nail right on the head. On the age-friendly committee, and maybe Sarah can look into this as well. I can't remember the person's name, but we had a wonderful presentation from, I think it was Michelle, I may be wrong, my daughter's saying, from 211. And they look after, food banks and different questions, exactly what you were talking about. And it was a very informative presentation and a resource that we all can connect to, dialing 211. And I think that would be some great, ways that we can connect with this 211 service as well in accessibility.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you for Kaylee for bringing that up. Seppaline, you had something? You had your hand up? Oh, I think we lost Seppaline. Okay. Heather, I'm not sure if you had your hand up at any time. You're a little hidden at the bottom of the screen.
I think we have Seppaline back.
Oh, okay. We have Seppaline back.
No, she's frozen again.
No, okay.
Okay, yeah, I did have my hand up. In addition to what Barb was talking about, I was wondering, is there any way we can work hand in hand somehow with the bylaw office when we are out and about and we see infractions going on out there, like serious infractions?
Sarah?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Heather and the rest of the group. Definitely there are reporting mechanisms in place wherever if you do feel that there is something happening in a premise that you've visited within the community. Those complaints are filtered through the Durham Regional Police Department on the non-emergency telephone line. And I will send this out, but for the benefit of anybody watching this evening, if you do have anything to report, it can be reported online at www.drps.ca, and there's a community portal. Or you can use the, again, non-emergency telephone line at 905-579-1520, extension 5802, and you can leave a message with all of the information there. And then depending on the circumstances, those types of complaints are then filtered out within the community. And if necessary, I think at certain points, the bylaw services teams are deployed to go out and give a call to those premises or even visit on site. So,
Sarah, can we not call the bylaw direct?
No, unfortunately, through the chair, it's Durham Regional Police that are overseeing all of the complaints right now. And then where necessary, that information is shared with the local municipal bylaw services.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks
question.
for clarifying that. Yes, it was a very good question. Thank you, Heather. Okay. Doesn't look like we've got Seppaline back. Any other thoughts on our proposed plan?
One of the things that I've noticed lately in the new plans for Highway 2 is they're going to have big areas where they will have some people and walking and that kind of thing, and it's going to be a long distance between place to place. Is that something that we have addressed already, or is this something that we need to look at? Because it really is a long distance between some of the stops there and the accessibility issue of them.
Through you, Madam Chair, for clarification, is this in regards to the Metrolinx bus rapid transit project, or was this a Durham Transit?
Highway 2, which one are we doing?
Is this the project that came forward in, I believe it was December that we heard about, or are you talking about like the regular pulse routes that come through?
I think it's the new one you were talking about.
The new one? Okay, so that would be feedback that should be directed through, and it can be through myself or directly through yourself to Metrolinks. And I believe we shared a link for the project page where they were taking all of the feedback on and comments received from the public on that project. But if you have more information you'd like to share with me, I'm happy to pass that along on your behalf.
It just seems to be a long way from stop to stop and business to business, etc. It's going to be very difficult for people that do have problems to be able to access businesses along Highway 2.
And then maintaining that there is that pedestrian barrier-free connection between those stops too, right? So that you can visit all the places in between.
They're barrier-free, but it's forever by the time you stop at one stop, and then you get off the bus, and then you spend hours walking or riding, whatever you are using, to the next place that you want to stop at. It's a long distance between places.
We could definitely take feedback and share it with their planning group.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Barb. I think we have Seppaline back with us. Seppaline, did you want to ask your question?
I wonder what happened. Did you hear what I was saying? I noticed that I was out of the system.
No, we didn't hear anything. We did see your video go off, but we didn't hear you.
But you didn't hear anything I said?
No.
Okay, I can repeat it then. What I was saying was, as far as the communication is concerned, what we can do, there's a lot of information out there on COVID from either federal, municipal, or provincial. And each one of those reports, they do have accessibility in the report. And what we can do, we can extrapolate that information out, just the accessibility, and run it on our system just to show what's happening. Because most organizations are doing that. Everybody is sort of pulling from the federal government or provincial government and put it on their specific website, which is basically the same information. But for us, it would be really helpful just to extrapolate the accessibility piece and run it on our system so people know what's happening as far as accessibility and COVID and where we're going now, where we'll be going in the future, and how we will be doing this whole issue around COVID and accessibility.
I apologize. So you're saying that those communications that are already published?
Yeah, there are communications that are published, and there's accessibility in those information, whatever the information is on COVID. So we can extrapolate that information out and put it on our social media site or communication site, and just relative to accessibility, so that when people read our advisory accessibility committee, they will see information relative to COVID around accessibility. Because there's a lot of information out there, lots, I can tell you.
Oh yes, there is a lot of information. My concern is there is a lot of information, and I wonder, is it, do you know offhand if it's from Public Health Ontario?
If it's from where?
Public Health Ontario, if it's published by Public Health Ontario.
Yes, it's coming straight from the federal government and the provincial government.
Okay.
Yes. As I said, it's factual information. It's not fake news. It's factual information that is on those websites. Just like, for instance, we have gone into the red zone this week, right? So if you go through a lot of the information on the red zone, what is happening in the red zone, for who and how is happening in the red zone, that type of thing I'm talking about. You go in and take out the accessibility piece out of that and run it in your system. It will be very, I think it will be very helpful. because as I say, most organizations are doing something to that effect. For instance, Diabetes Canada has a whole COVID section, but it's all pulled from the federal and provincial government. So there is given factual information. How is a COVID relative to diabetes? How is this affecting diabetes? So for us, how is COVID affecting the people with disability issues? How are they accessing the services? What are they doing? So that type of thing.
Great. Well,
Great.
I'm
For
glad that,
instance, the Ajax board, the Ajax and Pickering board, they run all the information also on accessibility, but it's relative to the businesses. What are the businesses doing? So if you look at the Ajax and Pickering board, you will see that they have a lot of information on COVID, but a lot of it is relative to the businesses. How are the businesses coping? How can they help the businesses, support the businesses? Things like that. So every organization is running COVID also, but relative to the specific needs.
thank you, Seppaline. Sarah, yes?
Great, through you, Madam Chair. Seppaline, perhaps if you have any links to those resources that are accessibility related, if you wouldn't mind forwarding them to myself, then I can work with our corporate communications team to see if there's any material that they might be able to put within the communications that they're preparing. I don't know if she heard me, but I'll follow up with her. And if any of you see any links that are out there from our vetted sources, the federal, provincial government, that you feel would be of import to share, please pass them along and I will share them with our corporate communications team.
So if there's nothing else that stands out. Oh, yes, Heather, go ahead.
Hi, I have another question, and perhaps I'm jumping the gun for a minute here, but is it possible to work with the city, with the town, in establishing a committee that when the injections are available and the COVID vaccine is here in Ajax, that we have people that are ready to jump in and support wherever these sites are going to be in Ajax? Thank you.
And Sarah, yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your question, Heather. And I may defer to Councillor Bauer at a certain point, but I believe, again, that initiative is being facilitated through public health, and it would be initiated by that group. I understand that when it is appropriate and when the time comes, that there might be community sites within community buildings that would support those initiatives. But again, it wouldn't necessarily be something that's led through the municipality proper. And we would sort of have to wait and see how those initiatives are being led and then rolled through public health. I don't know, Councillor Bauer, if you have anything you wanted to add.
Thank you, Sarah. I would agree with everything that you said, that it's really.
So can I ask a question?
Barb, I will just ask if Councillor Bauer, were you finished?
Okay, sorry.
She was still talking.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Thank you,
Sorry, Miss
No,
Bauer.
it's quite all right. No, I was just agreeing with what Sarah has said about following the region's health medical, the Department of Health, which follows the province, which follows the feds. So we really don't have, we just follow the lead. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Yes, Barb?
I'm sort of wondering how is Ajax doing at getting organized to be able to get these shots into everyone's arms so that we can stop being afraid of going out during the day. The viruses are very deadly, as you know. And there doesn't seem to be from what I have been doing my reading, there's not much that people are being told what's going on. I was at a March of Dimes conference today, most of the day, and the information was extremely interesting as to how things are going to operate and are operating and when it's going to all happen. But I'm not hearing anything from the local area as to what they plan to do. How many arms do you think you could stick needles into in a day? And there's all kinds of things that I noticed were not being addressed when we were talking about all of these things. And I'm sorry, I just want to go to my door and get somebody to put a needle in my arm. But a lot of these things do not look like they're going to happen. We have Ajax Community Center that has lots of room in there, and nothing seems to be done. No one is around at any time. I'm right across from it. I can watch them all the day. So what is happening? When are they going to start putting needles in our arms? And what's going to be the criteria and all that kind of thing? And I think that's really high on everyone's minds these days, because they want to know what's going to happen. And we have a lot of people in our area that are, number one, seniors. They're in seniors buildings. How are they going to get from a seniors building to wherever it is somebody's going to put a needle in their arm? And there's so many things going on. Why aren't we being told? It's all part of, it's Ajax. Why don't we know? The accessibility in Ajax. Communications are stinking right now, as far as I'm concerned. People need to know when the shots are coming and when they're going to be taken care of. And if they're a senior in a home on the street by themselves and have nobody to help them, who's going to help them? All this kind of thing. Why aren't we hearing anything about what's going to be going on? Because this has been a long time coming. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really worried too much about some of the Ajax stuff right now, as I'm worried about the people that are in homes, apartments, especially apartments, since I'm in one now. And we just need to get some more information. But it just doesn't seem to be coming the way that we need it. We need to know what's going to happen to ourselves in 6 months' time, 2 months' time, 2 months' time, actually. So why are we not getting a lot of information from the town, from the public health people and the rest of them as to when we're going to start getting some of these needles stuck in our arms, which is going to be very helpful, we hope. And I was on a long conference call this morning with a large group of people from across Canada, and the questions that they were asking, I was going, I don't know. It was really a little bit behind, and I was sort of embarrassed that I didn't have some of the information that they were asking about. So I'm just sort of saying, like, come on, guys, we need to pull up your socks and do something.
Thank you, Barb. And I think we all appreciate and can empathize with what you're experiencing right now. It is very challenging for all of us. The scope of our committee, however, does not fall within public health. And so those questions you're asking are very pointed toward public health,
Yeah.
our federal and provincial.
That's important. Right now, our public health is the most important thing to me. Accessibility, we can worry about that later, but let's get our health back.
And I very much appreciate that. At this time, we are discussing what we can do at this point in time. And if you need to speak to any of us at any point in time about your other concerns, maybe we can decide to make contact outside of our accessibility committee.
Sure, anytime, call me.
Wonderful, thank you, Barb. And Sarah, yes?
Madam Chair, just to maybe regroup the conversation to move forward and round out what we are discussing here tonight. With the subcommittee slide on the screen, is there any interest from members in participating in a particular subcommittee? Or is it something you want to take away and then maybe we can communicate by email? And because I know we don't have a full complement tonight, but just to sort of get some traction on these particular initiatives. We do have the list of members that were participating in the site plan review committee. Of those that are present here tonight, if you are interested in continuing, you can send me a quick email. If you're not, either way, that's fine. We can maybe rotate, but I am looking to get that committee back up and running towards the beginning of March, and it will be virtually. And I know that Councillor Bauer has also expressed interest in sitting with that subcommittee as well. So that's a great addition to that team. But any of the other committees, be it communications or more recognition type of committee work for days of significance, including National Accessibility Week, I'll send out that call for participation. And then maybe we can start setting up some of those subcommittee meetings and have some more just informal discussions and then come back and report to the group at our monthly meetings. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. Great.
And again, not having everybody here this evening, it's probably not in our best interest to look to approve any type of our work plan at this time. But if there are, that gives us a little bit more time in between now and our next meeting, especially for those that are absent, if they've got some feedback that they would like to incorporate and share with the group as well.
Great.
Gonna flip back to our agenda. Bear with me here.
And so we'll conclude the presentation and discussion items.
If there is no further comment from the committee, those were all the sort of the key points I was looking for input from the group. But by all means, if there's more discussion or ideas that members would like to share, that's why we're here.
Let's see here. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, the next item on our agenda is correspondence. We do not have any correspondence at this time. So I'll move on to the update from Council. Councillor Bauer, do you have anything to share with the committee at this time?
Thank you, Chair. Well, Council, just like this committee, we have transitioned to online for all of our meetings. We have an upcoming council meeting on Monday. This month has been a pretty busy month. We did pass our budget. It hasn't been ratified yet, but last week was the budget meeting. There's been several open houses regarding developments that are coming, developers that have come with proposals to the town for certain areas. So I'm very interested in the site plan review subcommittee here because I really need to gain some experience as much as I can. So that's about it right now, I guess. Working hard, just trying to get through this like everybody else. But just if I could just comment on what Barb had talked about regarding public health information. So we get our direction from the region, of course, and we follow the protocols there. And things are constantly changing, and information is constantly being updated. And all of that comes through the Municipal Emergency Control Group. So that is a group in the town with CAO and several of the senior management team and department heads that review all of the new information. I think they meet at least two times a week to review everything that's happening related to COVID and our town, and just try and come up with, the day-to-day, how we're going to be impacted or what we're going to do to change. So I'm sure as the public health information comes to us, it goes through the town. So as much information that can be shared is shared, when it's received. So I just wanted to comment on that. But yeah, and we have a council meeting on Monday night. Thank you, Chair. That's my update.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bauer, for the report and for the comment on public health as well. And moving on to item 7, our external committee updates. So this is the opportunity for Ray and myself to share brief updates on the information on the other committees that we sit on. So I will invite Ray to speak on the age-friendly Ajax steering committee. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, did I just put myself off? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I've kind of talked a lot about the Ajax age-friendly committee through our site plan, our planning, but we will be looking for an audit committee to look over what we are doing. In so many aspects of community life, community living for seniors and people who are getting older. So there will be a questionnaire coming up very soon. Definitely want to invite a member from the Ajax Accessibility Committee to be a part of this audit committee. So in fact, I'll be meeting tomorrow to review the questionnaire. So that'll be coming up very soon as well. Again, so many aspects of age-friendly we are involved in, but always including accessibility as well. So our group will be a big part of their group as well. We will be working together. One thing, in fact, two things. I just experienced one. We have the Ajax Senior Citizens Center without walls. So all virtual. And in fact, on Friday, I attended one of their first meetings, and it was an exercise group. So I was pooped. But every week, 3 times a week, or even more, they have different meetings for different subjects. So which is great to get involved in. Another initiative I'm very close to, and I hope it comes true. We will get an actual senior center for Ajax. We need one. We've got senior centers, Pickering, Whitby, Oshawa, everywhere you go, so for Ajax. So that's one thing our committee, and I know the mayor is very supportive of it as well, but of course we need the money and where it's going to be built. So that's one of the biggest initiatives the age-friendly committee will be looking at. But definitely all aspects of life, transportation, communication, community living, etc. So it's a wonderful, exciting committee, and we want the accessibility committee to be a part of it. So you will have more information hopefully next month.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ray, for that update. On the Regional Accessibility Advisory from the original advisory committee. We met in the end of January, and we did get speakers from the Durham Deaf Services and the Canadian Hearing Services, just to outline that they have still been active, although moving to a virtual format with their offices being closed. It was wonderful to hear from Durham Deaf Services that they are still involved in advocacy and accessibility, including newcomers. They are still offering their ASL classes to the public and holding children's events virtually. And they do have a Durham Deaf Club and the Durham Deaf Senior Citizens Club that are still active. From the Canadian Hearing Services, they do provide general support still, so special assistance, very individualized assistance, short-term interventions, case management and advocacy, employment services. They have the counseling and community liaison still active, however virtual, and educational programs, so ASL for businesses, for example. And currently, the Durham region is currently writing their 2020 accessibility report, so we should be able to see that soon. And as of January 1st, 2021, the Durham region's website is compliant through AODA. So that was a significant move. And our next meeting is scheduled for the day before our Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting in March. Thank you. And moving on to number 8, other business. Does anyone have any other items to share, business to share? Yes, Sarah?
I have one quick one. There'll probably be more communication coming out within the next few days, but just a notice of service disruption for anyone that will be accessing the waterfront trail near the Paradise Park area. There will be some tree removal happening over the period of next week, I believe. I can forward the full dates and details once I have those confirmed, but just to let you know that there may be some access restrictions to that portion of the waterfront trail, and we are working with communications to make sure that that's put online and on our website as well.
And do we have any other items? Heather, I see your hand up.
Hi there, Heather here. I guess last month I sent to all the committee members an ODA link. They were providing a course online, and I'm not sure if everybody got it or not. ODA is something I'm also interested in. And I'm just wondering, Sarah, if you got the link, and what are your thoughts in perhaps having somebody do a seminar on ODA? Thank you.
Through the chair to you, Heather, just to respond, I would have to go back and take a peek at what the contents of that course was. And in terms of the ODA, you're referring to the Ontarians with Disabilities Act, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Is there a specific section to which the training pertained or of interest to yourself?
Sarah, I believe it covered, it was a course that I believe covered a little bit of everything. And I did send it to you. I was interested, but I was also extremely busy with my own course, and I just sent it through. And if anybody was interested, I thought, you know, it would be something interesting. Thank you.
Okay, let me take another look and I'll report back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather and Sarah. Any other items that anyone wants to bring forth? And I will move on to number 9, the adjournment. Well, this concludes our meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Heather, I see Heather's hand. And if I could have a seconder?
I second. Ray Smith.
Ray?
Yep.
Okay, Ray second. And all in favor? See your hands. Great. And thank you everyone for our first meeting of 2021.